Oh.
Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Jasmine Navarro, certified wellbeing expert working in educational institutions and companies, delivering workshops on wellbeing. And as you know, every week I interview different experts who make a difference in people's lives. And today I'm super excited to be talking to Sharon, who is a great friend and an amazing expert. Sharon, tell us about yourself and what you do.
Hi everybody, I'm Sharon James. I'm the UAE menopause coach, as people have branded me now. I predominantly work with women going through the menopause, but I work with women, in their younger years as well, so that they are educated before they get to the menopause. So women's wellness coach is what I'm labelled as, I guess, and I look after their health, their nutrition, their sleep, their exercise, and just their holistic lifestyle, really, so that they can make that transition into menopause better.
Wow, it sounds amazing and so
Yeah,
important. And
it
you
is.
chose, yeah. And let's just say hi to everyone who's joining. Hi, David. Hi,
Hi,
Jasmine.
David.
Women's Wellbeing and UAE Menopause Coach. I'm looking forward to learning from the experts. Looking forward to your comments, David, and questions. And hi, Deo. Good to be here. Lovely to see you too. So, Sharon, you chose home sweet hormones. Can you tell us a bit more about the motivation behind this?
Yeah. So, like I just said, normally I deal with the female side of the transition of menopause and everything that goes with it. But through the conversations that I've had with women and the family, it affects everybody. There's a good saying that 50% of the population go through menopause, but it actually affects 100% of the population.
Wow.
So as I work through this, I realized that a classic scenario, and I've heard it numerous times over the last couple of weeks. You've got a woman going through the menopause who could be anywhere between her late 30s, 40s, 50s. You've got a male who's going through andropause, maybe, which is not really spoken about.
No.
They could be in their late 40s. And then you've got puberty in the house of their teenagers going, puberty and menopause are absolute bookends of the scale. If you think about it, you've got hormones raging and hormones depleting. So it's like, and they asked me the question, how do we manage it? How do we manage that, that sort of combustion that can actually happen in the home? And it's a natural occurrence because of all these different changes that are going in different people's journeys, for example. So I think that's why I sort of chose this today, to just highlight the fact that even though the woman's hormones are changing and we are transitioning into menopause, it's been aware of what else is happening around us as well, and how we can manage the lifestyle and the holistic approach around it, I think.
So important. And I guess it doesn't have to be so overwhelming, and you don't have to suffer so much, do you? Because I think if people are more aware and they know what to do and they're prepared, it can minimize the...
Yeah, and it's just about having that conversation in the household. And I think when you're going through your own journey, you sort of forget what else is around you, because you're sort of dealing with your own changes. Like, as a woman, for example, we've got anxiety, stress, mood swings, low energy. And if you've got all that, sort of happening in the space of, it can happen in the space of 10 minutes, an hour throughout the day, it changes that rapidly. You forget then, that if your children, for example, are going through puberty and they're moody or they're not doing as they're told, it's a quick instant snap that you have that argument with them, or you snap at them, or you don't handle the situation as effectively as you should. So I think it's a couple of things. It's being aware of where you are in the work, where you are on your journey, and also just taking that step back and looking at where they are as well, because they're handling their own situations as well, as much as you are. And it was brought to my attention the other day when I was talking to a lady, and she said, I was trying to get my kids out of school, out to the school bus, and one of my daughters turned around to me and said, "Mummy, I need to tell you something. I just need to tell you, I'm in the car, sorry. I'll tell you in the car. Remind me." And she said, I was driving. She said, I dropped her off at school. I got back. They came on from school. And she went, "Mummy, she went, oh, I forgot to ask you, what did you want to tell me this morning? She went, oh, don't worry, mummy, I know you forgot. And it seems to be happening quite a lot these days. So the child is actually picking up on, you know, the memory loss that we get going through menopause, or, you know, everything else that goes with it. And she said it was a light bulb moment for me when I realized that, oh God, yeah, I am forgetting things, or you know, I'm too busy doing other stuff and I forget things, or I've got memory loss or brain fog. And so yeah, it's quite interesting when you do talk to the, you know, the families and stuff of what's actually, you know, going on.
Yeah, no, let me just say hi to Carl. Hi, Carl. Lovely to see you. So, wow, Sharon. So, can you tell us a few of the menopause symptoms? Because you mentioned from, it's quite like not alarming, but you said from 30. So, you could have your menopause from age 30 to 50.
Yeah. Well, if you think about, even if you start at puberty, you know, we've got different age years of how our hormones increase as we get into our teenage years, and all that stuff that goes on. And, you know, they go through mood swings, they go through anxiety, confidence, you know, lacking confidence, you know, all the things that we've probably forgot as we were a long time ago as a teenager. But and then it's just the opposite end that we go through the same thing. You know, we have, there's over 52 symptoms that are recognized for the menopausal stages. Thank God we don't get them all. And some of us might breeze through them, you know, but some of us might, and the symptoms go from hardly anything to suicidal. You know, that's the range of these symptoms that women can get, and every woman is different, and you just don't know it until you're in it, how it's going to affect you.
Yes.
So the symptoms can be anything from your mood swings, your anxiety, your stress, your brain fog, hot flashes, hot flushes, night sweats, itchy skin, you know, vaginal dryness. You know, there's a whole range of stuff. And because estrogen affects every part of our body, that's why we get so many symptoms in variant degrees, because estrogen literally provides the whole body with, you know, with that chemical hormone.
Really? So that's what's happening then. The estrogen is
declining,
disappearing, or decreasing.
It disappears eventually. I mean, we might get a little bit, but not that much. And then eventually, it's basically your ovaries are retiring and they don't want to produce anything anymore. So it's estrogen, progesterone, and we get testosterone. They're the three sort of main hormones that we talk about when we're going through the menopause. Yeah.
Oh, so they're all decreasing, disappearing.
Yeah, they all decrease. Yeah, they drop off a cliff, basically. And then, and the difference between us and our male counterparts is that ours do tend to drop off quite quickly at the age of 40. But males, their testosterone is about, I don't know, maybe 1% a year, depending, again, every man's different. But so their sort of, let's say, symptoms or signs that might be happening are very gradual. But again, they, you know, they go through their own sort of, you know, anxiety or stress, or, you know, whatever situation that they sort of find themselves in at that age, it can exacerbate the symptoms as well. So it's not just it's called andropause, the male one.
You really don't hear about.
No, you don't. And, you know, as much as I, you know, the women, as we go through the menopause, I think it's just having that conversation in the home, you know, of what's actually going on. Because I know myself from my experience, some days my husband can just walk in the door and I just want to rip his head off. And there's absolutely nothing he's done, you know, but yet now he knows, he just walks away, or he'll just go into the room and it can be literally over within a second. It's just that flush of sort of rage that comes on. So identifying with it and knowing yourself, you can manage it as well as your partners can manage it.
And how do you know if it is the menopause, or just like you said, you know, anxiety? You know, some people have anxiety anyway. Like, how would they know, okay, this must be from the menopause or not?
Great question. Because, you know, as women, we go through every single day, and we've got life stresses coming in and out, and that's natural. You know, we can't stop that kind of thing. We can maybe control it a little bit. So it's just a matter of looking, you know, there's a menopausal symptom checker. You can look for it, and it's just assessing what external factors are coming in that are causing you stress. You know, if you've got a high flying career, for example, and you're trying to manage your career, your family, social activities, and all the other stuff that goes on in our circle on the peripheral, what can we do to sort of manage that? And is that the cause of some of the the stress symptoms that we might get, the low mood, the anxiety, the stress, for example?
Yeah.
And then it's looking at, okay, realistically, I'm in this age bracket. Could it be the menopause? And again, it's looking at it and saying, okay, if I remove that from my life, would it make it be any better? For example, obviously we can't remove the kids and the husband, else life would be amazing. But no, I'm joking. I am joking. But you know what I mean? So it's looking at your life holistically and going, okay, right, this bit I can control and I can change. This bit may be part of my transition that's going to naturally happen anyway. And then it's putting some different strategies in place, looking at your nutrition, looking at your exercise, and looking at your sleep as well. Because most women, when I talk about this, they'll go either, oh, I'm not there yet, or they'll go, well, I'm eating the same, I'm exercising the same, nothing's changed, but I'm changing. And that's a key indication of something. And that was with me. My food was great, my training was great, I was sleeping well, but I just felt my body changing in a different so I think the first sort of indication is monitoring your periods. That's sort of a key factor. If your periods are coming later, lighter, heavier, sporadic, that's the sort of, that can be hormonal as well, again, depending on your age. But again, it's just tracking and being attuned to you and what's going on with your body, really. I think that's the key.
And is how you experience menopause, is it genetic? Like some people say, oh, it depends if your mum was okay, then you'll probably be okay, or not. Some people, I don't know, I've heard people say no, it's not linked at all. So I
actually just issued a blog on that, actually, because that genetically the DNA says yes, it can affect the age that you sort of go into menopause. There's a little bit of the DNA factor but the majority of the reports that you read is down to your lifestyle. Like, for example, for my mum, I can't, to be honest, I can't actually remember my mum going through the menopause. It wasn't spoken about. We never asked her, didn't even know the word back then, to be honest. So I think if I take my mum, for example, she was a heavy smoker, and smoking is a precursor for bringing menopause on earlier, as well as drinking and other factors. So I think if I was to look at my mum's lifestyle and my lifestyle, I'm 53 now, and I'm still in perimenopause, heading towards the post. So I think my mum went it through a lot earlier, and I presume that was because she was a heavy smoker. So there are precursors to, what could trigger it to come early. And again, if you're in your younger years, like in your 30s, and you've had hysterectomies or any surgeries like cancer or anything like that, that could throw you into early menopause. So again, it's it's just different scenarios could lead to different ones.
But it sounds like you said about, of course, healthy lifestyle, that's what's going to help us get through it.
And as much as most people, when I'm speaking about menopause, they always want to ask me about HRT. And what, for some women, it's amazing and it's a lifesaver. Again, from that scale of how women sort of transition through it. And there's all sorts of different, ways you can go. HRT route, you can do the holistic route, and you can get the hormones that are actually made identically for you. So you've got body and bio. Now everybody goes, well, is it safe? Is it this, that, and the other? And you've just got to take into consideration that if people drink, studies have shown that if women drink 2 to 3 glasses of wine a night, that has a more higher risk of cancer than it does taking HRT. So you've just got to, obviously it's down to your own genetics, down to your own hereditary, your family history. but I often say, look, if the symptoms that you're experiencing are flooring you and you have no energy, you can't look after your diet and nutrition, and you haven't got that energy to do anything, then surely going and doing something is better than nothing, whether that's down the HRT route, whether it's down the holistic route, because until you get that lift up, everything's just going to stay as it is. So, it's very individual, and it just depends what place you're in at that time. And then once you've got that pep up, that step up, I think then you can start to look at your nutrition, because nutrition, sleep and exercise is a massive factor for your symptoms. Keeping yourself fit and healthy reduces the severity of them, I would say, for sure.
No, definitely. And no, it's very interesting. And I know you give like lots of workshops and talks. And what are your workshops about and your talks?
So I do a few different ones. So ones I do very similar to what I'm doing now. We just have a general chit chat about menopause, how it affects us, because look, up until recently, there was not a lot of information out there that we could work on or with. And especially now, a lot of the research that we're sort of looking at is done on women for women. So I talk about how from period to post, how we now can work with our period cycle, to maintain better sleep, better focus, and better training, for example. There's loads of new information coming out about that. So, and then as we work up into the post, it's about awareness, what it is, why we get it, and how we can sort of manage it, and the different variations of what we've just spoke about. And then I go into corporate companies, and we talk about the awareness in corporates, because as you know now, I've been today at the workspace event in the trade centre. It's all about well-being in the workplace. And it's not just about ticking the box and putting policies in place. It's about educating people, having that communication, so that there is a proper communicating line that people can go to and feel safe about talking about, because menopause, like mental health used to be, it's got a massive stigma around it, and it's trying to break that stigma around it, because it's a natural process. We can't do anything about it. We're going to go through it whether we like it or not. And it's about breaking that stigma and having that chain of ethics and empathy, sort of going through the workplace, so that women do feel okay to talk about it, because it does affect a lot of women in the workplace, and they leave their jobs. In fact, I spoke to one lady yesterday. She actually left her job because of menopausal symptoms, and she felt that she couldn't talk about it in the workplace.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Creating a safe space so women can share their stories.
Yeah.
Because sharing, you get ideas, coping strategies,
coping mechanisms. Yeah. So when I do the workshops, we talk about that, and then we might speak to line managers of how they have that. It's perfect for what you do. That communication. It's how do you have that difficult conversation if you are. If you're a leader of a group of women, for example, how do you have that conversation and, be there for them? Look, women don't need any help. We don't need help, and we don't need fixing. We just sort of need to have that awareness in the workplace that some days we will have a bad day, and, you've got to be okay with it, and we've got to be okay with it as well, and how we can manage it.
Exactly. Because imagine how many women have just left their jobs, or maybe been fired, or, you can't, and just never ever said anything.
I know. I think, if I'm right, I think it's 900,000 women left their jobs in the UK alone in the last 2 years because of menopause. Yeah, and I think the statistics are one in 4 will leave their jobs because of, and it's because they, I think a couple of things. I think more now because there's more awareness of it in everywhere. That there's lots more, you've got Louise Newson in the UK doing amazing things. There's the Balance app that people can go on and get loads of information about it. You've got the likes of Davina McCall in the UK, and loads of other resources that we can tap into now, so that we can sort of manage it. And then that leading back to the hormones in the suite, the home.
Yeah.
If we're managing our sort of journey and our symptoms, and we're sort of on board with that, you know, well, obviously there'll be things that we can't, but I think it just creates a better calm environment in the home for everybody, really, and being aware of what's going on in the other people's space. I think that's the key as well. 'Cause, you know, teenagers have a bad rap. You know, they go through stuff. You know, we probably can't remember it because it's, well, I can't. It was such a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, your mood swings. You don't. You know, we don't want to be near our parents, and you know, and it's
It's like
just
you said,
having that conversation.
have an empathy, awareness, and compassion.
Yeah, that's it. And just asking, you know, having check-ins with the kids every now and again to make sure that they're okay. And it's probably not a topic they actually want to talk about, but you know, it's, you can have a topic of, you know, like I was talking about that lady who had that conversation with her daughter. She said, she said, you know what, you're at this end and I'm at this end, and my hormones are going down and yours are coming up, and you know, we're sort of going through the same thing but at different stages of our life, and it's just simple conversation like that would work, you know, and
sometimes just knowing, like in the workplace or even with your family, just knowing that you can talk if you need to, but maybe just knowing that there's a safe space there if you want it, and maybe you'll never use it, but just knowing, I think that helps as well, doesn't it? Because it's when, like with anything, when you feel alone and you feel so misunderstood and hopeless, helpless, and that's when I think it can lead to worse things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, for the guys, if they're on here, it's almost like we've got some
Deo and Kyle, if they're still here.
Okay, so you know, even I do a workshop for men only as well, and what I do with that one is I just logically go in and I talk about what's going on in the females, you know, why it happens, what they're sort of doing to manage their symptoms, and what they can do to sort of co-share. You know, like I said before, we don't need fixing, we just need that empathy there. Likewise with the men, like with the men as well. And it's just sort of 10 tips of how you can sort of co-share what's going on and be aware of, you know, if, for example, and one of the key things I think that we sort of have discussions around is when women are going through the menopause, their libido drops. Okay, and this creates a quite friction in relationships, as you can imagine. Okay, so we have that conversation, and it's a conversation that both of them need to have, because first of all, sometimes the woman doesn't know why her libido is dropping, and she might have had an active sexual relationship, of course, and she still wants that, but because of certain situations going on, like for example, like I said, estrogen drops in the body, the lining of the skin all over the body, including the vagina, gets really dry and sore. So when they're having intercourse, it actually hurts. So it's not the fact that they don't want it, it's just it hurts. So it could be that, you know, if that's the case, have a date night with no strings attached, you know, watch a movie, you know, and just create that loving atmosphere that is just equally as nice. And you know, eventually things might happen. So it's that kind of thing that if men are aware of why women don't want to have sex, they won't push it, and that clash won't happen as such.
And that one conversation can save a whole marriage.
Oh, of course it can. Yeah. And statistics show that, you know, and I have spoken to women and said, if I'd have known what I was going through at that stage, I probably wouldn't have got a divorce, because it does actually happen.
Awareness is key in these conversations. And David says, Sharon, between nutrition, sleep, exercise, and alcohol, could you compare whether any of those has a greater impact or lesser impact on self? Thank you so much, David.
On self as in of the woman, David, or for the woman?
Oh, yes, good point. Oh, any of these have a great. David, do you mean the woman or you? Let's see what he says. But
even if I answer that question for both, I think it's obviously when we're stressed, a lot of we turn to alcohol. Of women. So when we're stressed and we're going through the menopause, even I've had this conversation over the last couple of days. They'll go, the first thing I do is go get a glass of wine to de-stress myself, but then it brings on my symptoms, and I get hot and sweaty, and I can't sleep properly. So the alcohol definitely has an effect on the symptoms of the menopause, so that can exacerbate them. But I think definitely sleep is a key factor for everything, because if you're not sleeping, you don't eat properly, you don't have the energy to exercise, and then you might get stressed because you're putting on weight, or you're just anxious and you might go and have a drink, for example. So it's just that catch-22. And the other two things that sort of come into that, we talk about progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone. The other hormones that we are affected are our insulin resistance through our eating habits, our cholesterol through our stress, and we've got two others called leptin and ghrelin, which are our hunger hormones. So if we're either drinking or eating too much, and we've got excess body fat, for example, because we're not training effectively, that can the signals between the two get mislaid, and we continuously eat all the time. So the ghrelin is your hunger hormone, and the leptin is your I'm full. And if that connection between the body is not working, then we just constantly eat, and it's a vicious circle. So I think sleep is top. That would be top of my list.
I think so. Sleep, they say, don't they? Sleep, nutrition, and then exercise. I don't know.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I mean, exercise is a massive part for women going through the menopause, because our body is going into prime fat layering, loving, chunky fat. That's what it wants to do. Okay. And we've got to sort of change that composition into, hopefully, to try and get more muscle mass, so that it affects our bones, it affects our muscles deplete because of the lack of estrogen. So exercise is key. And if there's one takeaway about the exercise, it's get into the gym and lift some good quality weights.
Oh, really?
Don't be afraid of it.
Don't be afraid of it. And estrogen, I know HRT replaces estrogen,
Yeah.
Is there anything, like any particular foods that you would say it's a good idea to eat, or is it just depends, and it's
it does depend. And again, if we're lacking in estrogen, generally, if we're lacking in estrogen because of the menopause, that naturally happens, we can lack in estrogen, and what we call the belly fat around the belly, we call it estrogen dominance. But it doesn't mean we've got too much estrogen. It means we've got not enough progesterone to balance it out. So sometimes you'll find that if women are in that sphere, and they're having tofu, soya, all the stuff that's got estrogen in it, they're just pumping up their estrogen even more, but their progesterone is out of balance. So there are foods, there are phytoestrogens, like all your pulses, your lentils, your beans. There's a whole list of stuff that you can sort of eat to help balance that if you need a bit of a boost in estrogen. But sometimes if you're so low, that's probably not enough to give you that boost up. But your nutrition is definitely key for that.
No, it's so interesting, and it's so important, isn't it? It's so important. But but thank you so much for everybody who's been listening. And I know we're doing a workshop next week, aren't we?
We are. Yes.
And it's called Home Sweet Hormones, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And we're going to go in more detail of how you can manage that situation, talking more about different strategies of how we can, help the teenagers, go through their transition. We can't, and how we can do it, and then how the males can sort of have their part. And again, bringing that balance back to the home, really, I think. It's natural. Hormones fly everywhere all the time, but if we're aware of what's going on, we can stop that,
exactly. We can respond in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
Exactly, make it 1,000 times worse. So that's what we'll be talking about: effective communication. And Jacob says, thank you, Jasmine and Sharon. Absolutely brilliant talk. Thank you so much, Jacob.
Thank you
so much, Sharon, for coming on and sharing this, because
you're
it's
welcome.
Making me want to find out more and more, because as soon as you ask one question, you just find that there's just so much that we need to know, actually.
Yes, it's such an important topic, and it's quite amazing, really. There's so much to it.
No, there is. And David says, bless you, ladies. I am now less ignorant. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you, David.
And thank you, everybody who's joined us today. If you have any questions or comments, you can email or message Sharon directly, or myself, or in the comments as well. Please let us know your thoughts about it or anything. And also, Sharon, how can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Sharon James Coaching, or they can direct message me on hi@sharonjamescoaching.com, and yeah, and you can answer the questions if they've got any.
And if you want, you can put the links on the post so people can message you if they forget or something. But anything else you want to say, Sharon, before we go?
No, just please spread the awareness that menopause, there shouldn't be a stigma around it. And the more we can talk and spread that happy joy about the menopause, it doesn't mean that we have to be fearful of it, either as a male or as a female.
Amazing. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. No.
I'll put the link to our workshop in the comments as well. But
thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sharon. And thank you, everybody. And see you next week.
Bye. Thank you.